Hey, this is Kev with Blender Binge, back with another tutorial. We're in 2.8 official now, and we're going to be creating this really famous, cool style logo that you've probably seen style-wise around, I'm sure, somewhere, anywhere. So anyway, let's get to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import an SVG file. Now I'm going to make this file available for you in the description should you want to use it, but you can also use text to do the same thing. It doesn't matter. This just makes it easier and faster for the tutorial. So I'm going to go File, Import. I'm going to say Scalable Vector Graphics, and I'm going to load it in. And you see that it comes in and it's really tiny. So if I hit one of these little things here and I hit the little period on the number pad on the keyboard, I zoom in. And there we go. Nice and, I don't know, kind of crappy, kind of cool. I don't know, whatever. So I'm just going to do a little bit of a fix here. So I'm going to grab that and I'm going to move this down a little bit. And the nice thing here is that sometimes you will get these scalable vector graphics that come in like this. They don't all come in as one piece. So this is kind of cool, and I can show you how to go about setting this all up and making this work for you. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to figure out which parts we want to group. So I'm going to group these guys together because I'm going to do a bevel on these, and I'm going to group this and this together. This is going to be separate, and you'll see what I do. So I'm going to select this, this, this. I'm going to select all of these guys, and I'm just going to go to Object, and I'm going to say Join, and that joins them into one path. And if I hit Tab, you can see these are all still paths. So you can like edit this if you want. Then I'm going to go here. That's fine. I'll leave that as is. I'm going to go select this guy and this guy. Object Join. I'm going to go here. Actually, this guy, and this guy, because they're about the same size. Object Join. This guy I'll leave as is, and him I'll leave as is too. Wonderful. So now I can start making the extrusion. So to do that, I'm going to select this. I'm going to go over here to Object Data. And I'm going to say resolution. I'll just jump up because if my computer handles it, it'll be fine. It'll look better. If your computer doesn't, leave this, down where it was. I'm going to say geometry, and I'm going to say depth. Let's see. Wow, look at that. I don't want that. It's an extrusion. So let's figure out a good extrusion. I'll say like 0.005. That looks pretty good. And bevel depth, I will go ahead and say 0.0005. Gives a nice little bevel edge on there. So now I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for this and this and this. So this one will be a little bit less. So what did I say here? 0.005, 0.0005 for the depth. So I'll do the same thing here, 0.005 and 0.0005. Okay, same thing for here, 0.005. Bevel depth 0.0005, and these are smaller, so I'll do 0.005 here, and my depth will be smaller, 0.000 maybe 2. And same thing for this guy. Now this guy's like all like faceted, so I'll just go here, resolution, jump that up, extrude 0.005, and depth 0.0002. Gives a nice bevel on there. Done. So now you can see these things are all like out in the middle of nowhere. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and move those up into this area. Now there are a lot of ways to do this. I'm just going to do it for the sake of this video. I'm just going to do it manually. And I'm going to move these all up as one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or I could actually just right click on this and say select objects, and it gets everything inside that little collection there. Move it up, and there we go. So now I'm going to make this even easier here. I'm going to add an empty, and I'll say plane axis. That'll be cool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these guys. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, holding shift. Last one is empty. Object, parent, object, or you can hit Control P, same thing, object. So now these are all underneath the empty. And if I rotate the empty now, it rotates the whole object. And if I want to make it exact, I could say go here and type in 90, there. Okay, so all I did for that was I just hit N on the keyboard, or you get this little thing comes out, and I just typed in 90 for that. So there we go. Nice and cool. However, if you zoom out, it's still really tiny. So I could take the empty here and just scale it up. So scale to maybe 50. That looks pretty good. Wonderful. Great. That part's finished. So now what I can do is start the animation. So I'm going to select my camera and I'm going to zero it out. So for that, I'm going to hit Alt G on the keyboard. That zeroes out the location. Then I can hit Alt R to zero out the rotation. And then, see, I zeroed it all out. Now I can just go and type 90 on the X, and that just points it at the logo. Then I can move this back. I can hit 0 on the keyboard, and now what I can do is I can just use this little thing over here. If I go to View, and I hit Lock Camera to View, now if I use my scroll wheel on the mouse and hold down Shift and middle mouse click and drag, I can center it up and make it, put it about there. That's cool. Now's a good time to pause and save my scene. Okay, I'm back. So now what I can do is start shading this thing. So I want the timeline here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and move my mouse down here. Now 2.8 includes these really cool workspaces. For this tutorial here, I'm not going to really use it. So I'm just going to scroll up down here, click and drag, and pull this guy up. And then I'm going to click on this little area and change it to Shader Editor. So now what I can do is if I select these guys, you see I have this material. And Use Nodes is not on. And you see that I have all these other materials in here. Okay, I've just brought in a whole bunch with this thing. So I'm just going to go ahead and say Use Nodes. And I'll just select any one of these, doesn't matter. And I'm just going to rename this one to Letters. And this will be my shader. I'm not going to worry about the other ones right now. For the sake of this tutorial, you can just let them be. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on Eevee over here. So I'll go to Rendered View. And there we go. So now you see I have no lights in the scene. So I'm going to add in one little light just so I can see what's going on. So light, I'll just say point light. Okay, bring this guy up. Maybe, let me see, take off Lock Camera to View so I can move around. And pull him out a little bit. Maybe make him about 150 so I can see what's going on. And that looks pretty good. So now I hit 0 again, and back inside my camera view. I'll select this guy, and I'll give him the base color. So the base color will be somewhere around here. That looks pretty good right there. And I'll make this guy metallic. And the roughness I'm going to control with a map. And everything else should be pretty cool. So I'll just go ahead and give these other guys that shader. So scroll up, find it, Letters, here. Scroll up, Letters, here. So on and so forth. You get it. Repetition is key when you're learning. There we go. So now everything has that, and I can play around with this. So I'm just going to break up the metal to make it look kind of, you know, dull and cool. So that's the roughness. Roughness here at 0 is black, which is perfectly shiny, and at 1 it's pretty matte. So what I'm going to do is control that. So I'm going to plug something in here. So to do that, I'm going to hit Add, Texture, and I'm going to say Musgrave. And I'll take the factor of Musgrave for now and put it out to roughness. And you see here that I have this all kind of dark. So what I'll do is I can start playing around with the scale and bringing it in and start playing around and getting something that looks like that. And then I can take this and change it to, say, like hybrid multifractal. And then I can take the dimension down, detail up a little bit, lacunarity up, that breaks it up, and it gives me a really interesting looking breakup. And then I'm going to add in something to control that more. So I'm going to add in vector converter color ramp, throw that in, and now I can control, so I don't want everything to be too black, too shiny. And roughness, not too rough. So that just kind of controls it a little bit more, and you can see if you scale it in more, you get more of a breakup pattern. So then what I can do to make this even better is I can go ahead and multiply this with another one, and we can get a better look to this. So I'm going to go Shift A. I'm going to go to Converter, Math, throw that in. Now I'm going to take another one of these guys. So I can just hit Shift A, Texture. This time I'll say Voronoi. Take the factor, plug that in, and take Add and change it to Multiply. And then what I can do is I can take this distance, turn it to one of these guys, like Shebyeshev. Sorry, my Russian is horrible. And play around. Lastly here we can tell it that we want to map it to these objects. So add, input, texture coordinate, and I'll just say object, plug that into vector here, plug that into vector here, and now it's just mapped to these objects. And then I can just keep playing with these values. So in the essence of time, I paused the video and played around a little bit and got this much better, closer look. And for that, I just changed this back to FBM, scale 19, detail 15, lacunarity about 1.6. And I changed the scale on the Voronoi here to 48, and it broke it up pretty nicely. So now what we can do is we can play with the lighting, and we're almost there. So I'm going to play with the lighting here. I'm going to look at this light, and I can control it here with item, and maybe bring it out a little bit, and I can duplicate this guy. So with the light selected, point light, Control D, pull this guy down here. All right, Control D, pull that guy up here, and I can actually take these guys here, select all three, Control D, and pull them in the back. I said back of the object. And maybe move these guys just around a little bit, okay, just by selecting them, and you can hit G on the keyboard and drag. Okay, and now I hit 0, and we can look at the lighting, and that's probably pretty good. I can leave all of these about the same, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on some EV settings. So while I'm here, I'm going to go to World, and I'm going to take the color, black that out. You already see it's looking really nice. And then I can go over here to the render settings, and I'll turn on I don't think I really need ambient occlusion. You can turn it on. I'm not seeing much of a difference here. I could turn on bloom, and I could turn on, we don't need motion blur. Screen space reflections I can turn on. I don't think I need either one of those on. Don't. And that's pretty cool. So what I'll do lastly here, and here's where the magic happens, is I can take all these lights, and I'm going to go add. I'm going to say empty, which is a non-rendering object. Let's see, I can add in a sphere so it's visible. And now I'm just going to select these. So I'm going to go here, hit Shift, Select, Shift, Select, Shift, Select, Shift, Select, Shift, Select. And then lastly, I'm going to hit the empty. I'm going to go Control P, or you can go to Object, either one, Parent, Object. And now they're under this. So I'm going to go ahead and call this Light Control. And what you can see now is if I take this light control and I move him around, right, I can start getting that effect. And a cool thing about having this light control is I can like scale out the lights, right? So if I go to scale or I hit S, pull them out or pull them in, and they're really close, right? So what I can do here is with my scale, right, scale at 1, I can set some keyframes. So if you rotate here, you get this nice rotation. So we could start this rotation. I'll scale it, let's see, I can go about a second in here, So let's say I'll go about 24 frames in, and I can right click over here and say insert keyframes. And then I can go to 120, insert keyframes. And now on the back end here, I can start rotation here. So I can go at 1, I can rotate it, find a good spot. That's probably pretty cool right there. Insert keyframes, and at 144, I can rotate it around a bit more, find something else there, right click, insert keyframes. Okay, this is kind of arbitrary. And now what I can do is, the magic is I can fade it in, because the lighting is kind of like dependent on, you know, how the distance from here. I can scale this. So frame 1, I can scale it up pretty big. Insert keyframes, and then I can go to 144, same thing, scale it up so that it darkens out. Insert keyframes, and now if I hit play, there it goes. It's nice, it's fluid, it comes in, it does its thing, and then it disappears. So that's about it. Let's hit render. So to do that, all we have to do is go over to output here. Okay, so I go to output, okay, context output. I go to output, and I'll find a place to save it. Found cool logo animation. So cool, I'll type in cool logo animation.mp4, hit enter, hit accept. All right, file format will be FFmpeg video. Encoding here, I'll just choose H.264 in MP4. Okay, hopefully you guys should have this in 2.8 now. And I think everything else is probably good. HD, that's good. So what I'll do is I'll hit render animation, and it should go fast. There it goes, and I'll pause the video and come back when it is finished. Okay, so here we are back, and here's our animation. Not too shabby. We can always like rotate the lights more and do some more stuff, but that's getting there. So I encourage you to go and play with this. The SVG file will be in the link description, and you can follow along, and it'll be good. So hopefully you got something out of this video. If you did, hit like, subscribe, share it. I've been holding on to this video for 2.8 to come out, so I'm pretty excited to start getting these things out there now. And have at it, go forth and create and be awesome. Talk to you later. See you in the next video.